right? You always have a million ideas, and they're all, when they pop into your head, you know, there's ideas that you know are going to be your big one, your big hit, you know, your ticket to success, whatever it is, and sometimes they're not. In fact, we all know as entrepreneurs that statistically they're not. You're going to go through a bunch of ideas, and a lot of them are going to fail. Right now, there's the new conventional wisdom, then just fail fast, right? Failing's fine, just fail fast and cheap and move on to the next one. But a lot of people don't know when to let go of an idea, and I'm backing into the answer to your question, because they haven't really thought through the definition of what success would be. How do you know if this idea, how do you know going in what the definition of success or failure would be, so when you see one or the other, you know whether to stop or keep going? And you would be amazed at how many times I've been in a room a year later with maybe the investor and the entrepreneur, and I say, so how was the year? And simultaneously, the entrepreneur says great while the investor says horrible. And I was like, wait, you're at the same place. How do one of you think it's great and one of you think it's horrible? It's because they never clearly defined, if I succeed, it will look like this, and if I am failing, it will look like this. So when we see it, it's a more objective thing. So many people, in fact, it's kind of funny because since Thanksgiving just happened, I always call this the Thanksgiving test. I can go up and ask any one of you that's an entrepreneur, so next week's Thanksgiving, you excited? If you say, oh my God, I don't even want to go home, your business is not working, right? Because last year at Thanksgiving, you told everybody this was the best idea ever and it's going to be the next great thing, and you might have even borrowed money from them. So when you don't want to go home for Thanksgiving, it's because things aren't going well. When you can't wait, it's because you can't wait to brag and show that your results. The Thanksgiving test is a pretty accurate predictor of how things are going, because we borrow from friends and family, and the first thing they say at Thanksgiving is, what'd you do with my money and how's the business going? Very, very, very interesting. So I was always very aware that if I don't define the parameters of success for an idea, I will have no idea, and life is short. You could waste a lot of time, and something that you knew 6 months, you had that little voice saying, this ain't it. It's not working. And 2.5 years later, you finally shut it down and wasted 2 years of your life. So for me, the first step was always saying, what is the idea and what would it look like if it were successful? And what were some of the things that would look like if it were not? So I have a sense going in, literally written on a board somewhere, what I'm trying to achieve specifically, objectively, quantifiably. So I'd have something to measure. And then I tend to do that in 90-day increments. Every 90 days, you better be looking in the mirror, and you better be writing a bunch of numbers down, everything that you can quantify, and say, did I hit the 90-day goals? If I didn't, what am I doing spending another 90 days? Because I'm way off track for the 1-year goals and the 2-year goals, which you also wrote down, but don't wait till the end of the year to do that. So I think that the metrics piece is just unbelievably important for everybody on the team to write down what the definition of success looks like and how you know you're getting there, way before you get there.
Very cool.
Lessons to learn is that you are not as smart as you think you are. And the worst thing that could happen as an entrepreneur is success, because then you see yourself on a magazine cover, or one day during the Priceline days, I was standing at the airport line, and all these people were looking at me and looking up because I was on CNN right above me and the TV thing. And as soon as you start to believe that crap, it's over for you. You will stop listening, you will stop learning. You are never as smart as you think you are. So the sooner you realize that, the sooner it occurs to you that the only way to win is to have the best team, to build the best team. Initially, I used to, as a CEO, a founder, a leader of any kind, if somebody says, who do you work for? And your employees say, well, him, he's the CEO, that is the wrong answer. You work for them. They don't work for you. In fact, their answer should be your customers. Let me tell you a story that I was particularly proud of. This was CTI, a software company I started that I sold to American Express. So today it's American Express Technologies worldwide. But it was a successful exit in a company that we built. There was a guy, Procter & Gamble was a big customer of ours for technology. We handled all their travel-related services all over the planet for them. So they were a huge customer for us at the time. And one of their guys I used to see in our building a lot, and a guy named Lee. And one day I went to Lee, and he was there the next week. And I said, well, you've been in town a long time. And he said, well, of course I have. And I said, well, when do you head home? And he said, I'll go home at 6 o'clock, whenever. And I said, no, I mean home to Cincinnati. And he goes, what do you mean home to Cincinnati? And I said, you work for Procter & Gamble. And he said, Jeff, you hired me. I work for you. He was so ingrained at the customer that I did not know he worked for my company. I thought he worked for them because every single meeting we went to, he talked about what they needed. He talked like he was part of their company. He represented them and their needs in everything that we did all the time. The reason that they loved us, they told me, you're one of our favorite vendors because you guys live and breathe us, not your company all the time. If somebody asked him who he worked for, his answer would be, as part of this team, I work for Procter & Gamble because we don't get paid if they don't buy anything. So as a leader, it occurred to me, my job is to find people like that, find people smarter than me in every single area, find people that are so ingrained in the customer that I don't even know they work for me, and let them go build the value out there. I'll tell you one other sort of quick story. One day, when I was walking around, so I spent my time, I realized one day it was the inverted pyramid. They don't work for me, I work for them. So as a CEO, my focus should be, by the way, when I sold that company to American Express, I was doing this news interview on TV, and the woman had this sheet of accomplishments. Revenue growth, margin growth, profits, all these numbers. She said, wow, this is impressive. Your company, until the day you sold it, was doing really, really well. She said, which of these accomplishments are you most proud of as a leader, an entrepreneur, a founder, whatever? And it was interesting, because just before I went into the TV studio, the woman that ran HR for me all those years came to me and said, Jeff, I just realized something. She said, from the day you started the company to the day you sold it, not one person that worked for you ever quit. And that floored me. So I went back and asked everybody. And what I told why they never quit. What were we doing right? That the best people, so I realized that day, my job as a leader is to build an environment, a company where the best people in the industry that could work anywhere they wanted want to work here. That's my job. And we build war rooms. When it's time to deliver, what I told people is when it's your turn in the war room, somebody else will feed you, right? Bring you whatever you need and take care of things for you. When someone's in the war room, the rest of the company is responsible because that means they have a deliverable and a customer's waiting. So I was walking by and there was this 20-year-old kid that was a new developer. And he didn't know, not that it matters, but he didn't know that I was the CEO, the founder, the owner of the company. I just walked up and I said, hey, can I get you guys anything? And can I do anything for you? And the 20-year-old new employee turned to me and said, yeah, go pick up my dry cleaning. Well, all the people in the room kind of gasped because, you know, in theory, you shouldn't say that to a CEO or the owner of your company. But I paused for a minute, and I think they thought I was going to tell them, do you know who I am, or some equally stupid thing. What I said was, where's the ticket? And he said, it's in my cubicle. And I said, I'll be back in about a half hour. And I said, anything else? And somebody else said, can you pick me up some whatever they needed? So I wrote an article later about when somebody said to me, what is your job as a CEO? Do you want to know why I did that? That kid was the most brilliant design engineer I've ever met. We recruited him across the country, moved him to town, hired him, and he created products that won awards. Our products were recognized everywhere. So what is this best thing I can do is build a place where that kid wants to work and then go pick up his dry cleaning because he is creating the value. He is making my company work. So I wrote an article, and I think it was in one of the ones I did a little while ago in Forbes or something, that was a CEO's job is to hire the best people and then go pick up their dry cleaning. But that team, I have no idea what the question was that you asked me, now that I've rambled into it. But I do know that your job is to hire people smarter than you and build a place that they want to be in every single day, so that the ultimate compliment you can ever get is the day you sell your company and you find out nobody that worked there ever quit. We must have done something right because we had really good people and they didn't want to work somewhere else. Than you. So find something you are uniquely qualified to win at and then be the best at that thing. When you achieve that goal, it's funny because I ran into some of the, out in the speaking circuit, Bezos and Steve Case and some of the people that back when all these companies were starting, and we were all little tiny companies because we were starting Priceline the same time he was doing AOL and at the same time as all those other companies. And we all used to talk back then, but people forget that, you know, that Amazon was a book seller. Even though he wanted to do everything and sell everything, he did one thing really well, and he did it so well that people said, there's no better place on the planet to buy a book. I like doing business with you. What else can you sell me? I was on the speaking tour with Tony Hsieh, the Zappos guy, recently as well. Tony always wanted to sell everything, but guess what? He didn't. His single purpose was to be the best, quote, the best damn shoe seller on the internet. And once he achieved that and achieved credibility, people come to you. Customers then say, you are the best at something, and now they want to do business with you. The example I gave recently was the Olympics. I have 2 employees come into my office. Their resumes are exactly the same for the job, but one guy has a gold medal around his neck. I say, wow, what's that for? He said, I just won a gold in London in track and field. What do you think that puts into my mind? They're equally talented for the job specifically, but the fact that he won a gold medal in anything tells me something about his ability to commit, his ability to follow through, his work ethic. I learned so much about him because he won a gold medal in something. So your job is to find something you can win a gold medal in, and you have to be disciplined to tune out all those other ideas. Yes, the healthcare thing is cool, and yes, someone's going to get rich on it, but it's not you. Finish something. And finish something that you can be the best at, win awards for, be recognized for, and then everything else comes to you after that.
But be inspired by someone who's as successful as he is, you know, he's also very pleasant and you know, easy to listen to. His stories are very interesting and offer personal insight into his experiences.
That gave a very good overview of just what you need to do in terms of starting your career and finding a mentor in the field, to how to get over sometimes the failures you inevitably face during being an entrepreneur.
Absolutely, you know, wonderful with his storytelling and his, you know, expertise. It's always good to hear it firsthand, even though I've seen videos and interviews of him before.